The fourth gene key. The transformational path of the fourth gene key moves from intolerance to forgiveness, and it's the path of understanding. This fourth gene key, it's a real linchpin in our genome, and in the future, it's going to cause mutations in our DNA, and it's already in the early stages of that process. You can see from its related physiology that it has to do with the neocortex and the way in which humans think and reflect. And the shadow field generated out of this gene key is intolerance. And when you reflect on these shadow words, they often contain whole worlds. And you may not think of yourself as intolerant, for example, but let's contemplate this for a moment. We humans, we don't really live within a field of tolerance. Think of your relationships, your closest ones. Surely they must be tolerant. And yet how quickly and easily we react to each other in anger, in irritation. You know, how easily we are provoked. Remember, the programming partner here is reaction, the 49th shadow. So the closer we live with someone, the more easy it becomes to be provoked. And our irritation, it can be provoked by almost anything. The minutest of details, a tube of toothpaste in the wrong place, a single fingernail clipping that missed the bin, you know. I mean, I'm over-exaggerating, but you know what I mean. So you have to ask yourself, are you really tolerant? At the shadow frequency, we live in a world of judgment, comparison, good and bad, right and wrong. This is the world generated by our neocortex. We live inside a mental construct, and we have no idea how deeply embedded we are in this. Even the word intolerance says it. At best, we are tolerant. We can just about tolerate our neighbours, you know? We tolerate them. We don't love them, we tolerate them. Language is funny. These words for the gene keys, they're very carefully chosen. Anyway, this mental world that we live in, it's made up of thousands and thousands of reasons. The mind has to have its reasons. And this is the dilemma of this gene key, reasons. Our modern logical mind, it's so adept at finding reasons. And this is where the word reason comes from. As long as you buy into the reason game, you're a reasonable person. But the moment you question logic and reason, you're being unreasonable. I like to be unreasonable. I love reason as far as it goes. I'm one of its biggest fans. But there are truths that cannot be detected by reason alone. And for that, we have to look elsewhere. And it all begins with language. If you look through the eyes of someone who is autistic, for example, you'll see the world without its reasons. You know, it's all just coming in as it is, pure, undivided, unconsidered, unfiltered. And if the consciousness isn't ready for that, then that person has great difficulty living safely in the world. And you know, that's a very short step away from the awakened state. The awakened state also filters life without its reasons, without its labels, without its morals. And that's something you have to prepare yourself for. In the meantime, however, most of us, you and I, we are governed by reasons. You see, a world without reasons, it's an amoral world. It's unrecognizable to us. It's ungovernable. It's terrifying to us. Think about this. A man kills a woman in that world. Why did he do it? There must be a reason. In his childhood, something must have happened. Or she just drove him mad. There must be a reason. And there may be substance to those things. But what if there were no reason deep down? What if it was meant to happen just because that is what life chose? And then we have to deal with that? The fourth shadow is obsessed with knowing why things are the way they are, why things happen when they happen. It wants answers. It is endlessly hungry for answers. If you know this gene key, you'll know what I mean. It drives us, this gene key. It's the mental expression of our unconscious distrust in life, because out of reasons comes blame, comes justification, comes guilt. And we usually think of intolerance as something directed at others. But you can understand it at a far deeper level when you point it within. Close your eyes and sit in a room for an hour doing nothing. You will soon discover intolerance. We can't even tolerate our own minds. You know, they recently did a psychological test where they put men in a room like that with no stimulus, and then they put in a machine that gives you electric shocks. And you know, 70% of men preferred to give themselves electric shocks rather than being left alone with their thoughts doing nothing. I think the women, it was a lesser percentage. The shadow cannot tolerate silence. It cannot tolerate truth. It cannot tolerate discomfort. So look at this gene key. It's part of a group of gene keys called the Ring of Union. That's the part of our collective DNA that governs relationships. You can feel some jokes in that. Imagine what would happen then if this gene key were taken away, seriously. A relationship with no reasons, no expectations, no blame. You'd have a very, very different planet. And this is what's going to happen eventually. And we'll see that in the city. But shadows all have their games. And even though this one drives us all mad, it also drives us to question the world. And in doing that, we have found out all kinds of amazing things. Along with the way, we've gone to the moon, we've split the atom, we've manipulated DNA, and it's an ongoing game. You see, when this fourth shadow does mutate, it's going to bring an end to science as we know it. It won't end completely, but the yearning that drives it will. The desperation to have reasonable answers is going to come to an end. So a new kind of science will begin. We'll no longer question anything in the way that we have over the last 500 years. We'll simply see the world as it is. And because our awareness will have developed to handle that, we'll be comfortable in the world. Can you imagine? It's not that we'll stop thinking, but we will stop asking. The questions simply won't be there. So for now, you might like to just contemplate that, especially in your relationships. There are no reasons. Try it for a day. Perhaps you'll have a glimpse of the future. The fourth gift, understanding. It's here in the fourth gift that the world as we know it is gradually, slowly beginning to change. As you know, the gifts are all about genius, and genius is something that cracks us open from the inside, rather than something we can learn from the outside. So this is light cracking through from within our cellular structure. When I look with my higher mind, my intuitive insight, into the depths of this gene key, that is, when I enter into contemplation of where it's going, I get a real shudder up my spine, in a good way, because it's going to change the world. All this mental, intellectual energy that we're using across our planet, have you noticed how the big questions are never quite resolved? You know, we live in this world that is founded on science, but the biggest questions are not actually resolved at all. We've discovered so much. Our physicists have created so many grand theories, but there's still that big piece that just eludes us. You know, we're in our own way. It's not our time yet. Not quite. We don't understand how the universe works at a fundamental level. We don't understand because we're still looking for reasons. We're looking for knowledge, and that's not going to be enough. One day, we're going to realize beyond a doubt that the universe is eternal, that time has no beginning and no end. And when we realize that, it's literally going to short circuit our thinking. It'll be a huge aha, because then you come to understanding and it floods your body. It's light. Everything is light. Consciousness is everywhere, in all things, breaking forth like a wave. And such understanding makes you laugh. It opens up the heart. You see, the answer we seek is staring us right in the face. It's the simplest one. It's unquestionable. It kills the question. It stops the mind. And then we will see that life is sacred, that free energy can be harnessed from anywhere, And that's the end of intolerance, folks. I mean, it's all about energy and food. And they're both free when we reach understanding. And then the world is going to take a completely different direction. So if you have this fourth gift in your profile, or you are drawn to it, or interested in activating it in your DNA, then you have to look no further than your relationships. Because you're never going to understand anything until you understand love. The thing is, most people won't believe what I'm saying here. Because we get accustomed to our milieu. You get accustomed to the way things have worked for a while. We've evolved to be a predominantly thinking race, and our Western world has essentially grown out of the scientific view. Eastern world as well now, catching up. And there's no room for magic. There's no room for fairy tales. There's no evidence for that kind of thing. But understanding truly, it's of the heart-mind. It comes from the causal plane. That higher plane of being at the furthest reaches of the mind. It's where the mind and the heart combine. You see when you truly open your heart. When you truly open your heart, that's when your mind sees much further than when your heart is closed. Because your mind reaches into the holographic union of truth. It sees, it feels, and it knows the truth. It doesn't need to prove it. And it cannot question it. How can you question the feeling of love? If you've ever been in love, do you really think your mind has any power to question that feeling? It doesn't. The truth is indisputable. The problems occur when the love fades. That's when the questions return. The Chinese called this hexagram of the I Ching youthful folly. And it's a really apt description of us human beings during our current state of awareness, pre-mutation, because we can barely tolerate each other. Whoever you are, no matter what gifts you're here to bring into the world, this fourth gene key is going to have a huge impact on your life. The gift of understanding occurs as you let go of your mind's many tricks of trying to understand and control your life and the daily decisions you make. Your mind cannot give you the answers that you're seeking. It can't tell you what to eat, where to live, whom to love, what to do, anything. It can only see and play with the polarities of mind itself. It cannot judge. It can only measure. And it can create frequency, but that's it. Only your spirit can understand life. Only your spirit can let another person live in your heart. Youthful folly, huh? We've all been fools. Fools for love. We seek the answers outside when all along they're inside. The light we seek is in our own body, locked away in that DNA. It's so simple to unlock it. Just input the right code. Just see through your own shadows. Watch your mind. Laugh at its antics as it stumbles and trips its youthful way through the world. And then when you have cellular understanding, only then does your mind rise up to see through the great questions, the great paradoxes. And only then does it stop taking sides. So if you have this gene key prominent in your profile, you probably already know all the answers to everything, and you can't stop looking and needing to know more. But one day, your genius is going to emerge out of the mists. And you know what? You're going to stop needing to know. And you're finally going to understand. And you are going to start laughing. Happiness never comes through answers. It comes only when you're so tired of answers and you just decide to live the questions fully. Then your life radiates the answer. And finally, you can relax and be of the deepest service to the world. Sounds good, huh? The fourth siddhi, forgiveness. It's a huge word, this, forgiveness. What is forgiveness? Who can understand its mystery? And how is it connected to our minds when so much of this gene key seems to be about our minds? Forgiveness seems to be emotional. It seems to belong in the emotional realm. But really it's about understanding. Only when we understand fully can we forgive. And to understand does not mean intellectually. The gift of understanding is of the full being, of mind and heart together. And who is it we're forgiving? When we understand forgiveness, we usually think of forgiving as a person or an injustice. We see it on a personal level. But the fourth city, it's about a much more universal type of forgiveness. And personal forgiveness, it's but a tiny echo of that. The programming partner of the fourth gene key, it's the 49th gene key, which is reaction, revolution, rebirth. I love those three. And when we put these two keys alongside each other, we have intolerant reaction at the shadow level, giving way to revolution in understanding at the gift, culminating in a rebirth through forgiveness. Aren't the gene keys easy to understand? So to really understand this fourth city, we are going to have to dive into the esoteric field of the Corpus Christi, which is the science of the subtle bodies that underpins the gene keys. And if you read the Gene Keys book, you'll find your way maybe into the glossary at the back, and there you'll uncover a whole world of terminology describing the way in which higher consciousness emerges through into the world of form. And at a certain phase in our evolution, as your heart begins to open more consistently to life, the subtle body known as the Buddhic body begins to dominate your inner consciousness. And the fourth city is key in this process. And in the mystical teaching known as the opening of the 7 sacred seals, also you can find in the glossary at the back, and if you read the 22nd gene key, there are 7 gene keys and their cities, and they are highlighted as having special significance as linchpins of global awakening. And one of these is the fourth city of forgiveness. You see, forgiveness is not personal. It is the realization that nothing is personal. The fourth city is such an alien concept to human beings at the moment. That's why it's going to take a rebirth. It involves the death of a whole part of our old mind, the part that needs and looks for answers and reasons. And it will move us into an acausal world, a world without blame or guilt. And forgiveness is the only antidote to guilt. And guilt is not always what it seems. Guilt is actually an ancient force carried through the DNA and passed on at the point of conception. Guilt is one of the 6 core human wounds. We humans carry guilt because we feel responsible at an unconscious level. We carry the guilt of our ancestors, and that guilt is triggered inside us at various stages in our lives by the karmic events that play out in our lives. For the rest of this information about the core wounds, incidentally, you can look into the Venus sequence and the 22nd gene key. So guilt is a karmic debt that we all carry, and collectively it's held by whole gene pools that are literally at war with each other. We can see these debts played out on the stage of the world economy. Debt and guilt are tightly interwoven. So forgiveness then is a force that descends upon us. It comes when something inside us lets go of the drama that's controlling us. And at one level you might say that forgiveness is given, as its etymology suggests. But we also claim it. We forgive ourselves. We are forgiven by ourselves. And that happens when it happens. You know, you cannot do forgiveness. No technique can bring it about. It comes when we're so deeply tired of the drama that we spontaneously surrender. And then we see how deeply we've trapped ourselves in our own belief structures, in our resentments, and through our ambitions and our broken dreams. The gift of understanding brings the process of utter self-responsibility. You know, we realize that all our resentments and our disappointments or our hurts in our relationships ultimately stem from our own incomplete self-love. And this leads to self-forgiveness. Only when we forgive ourselves fully can we begin to return non-love with love. and that's the essence of the city. This gene key is a part of the codon ring of union, whose cosmic realm is the transformation of human relationships. And this is also a city that has a very obvious archetypal resonance to the teachings and embodiment of Christ. Christ's teaching of peace on earth and goodwill to all contains the full transmission of this fourth city. We forgive each other our trespasses and our debts. We return non-love with love. This is the power of the Buddhic body coming into incarnation. These cities, they contain pretty wacky stories, I know, and this fourth city has a really good one hidden inside it. It's going to bring an end to war. Think about that. It's going to bring an end to war through the releasing of all ancestral karmic debt. One day, it's going to bring about world peace, this little mutation in the fourth gene key. It's just going to change the way our brains operate. As we saw in the introduction, it's going to stop us asking questions. It's going to settle us down. It's going to propel us into a deep natural morality that at the same time is rooted in an amoral understanding of life. And it may be far away in the future, but one thing is for sure. It's here now, and it's programmed in us. So assuming we're allowed to complete our natural evolution, then we will one day live in the field of this cosmic forgiveness. And even though it may sound kind of boring to our drama-addicted minds, I think it will actually feel really, really nice.